The Hispanic population in the United States has grown significantly in the past decades, reaching 62.1 million in 2020. This is an increase of 23% over the previous decade, which outpaced the nation's overall population growth of 7%. This Hispanic population growth also accounted for more than half of the total U.S. population growth between 2010 and 2020. But what do we mean by Hispanic? Who are the different groups that make up the Hispanic population? And how do their experiences with the United States differ from each other? The term Hispanic in the United States is generally referring to anyone who has origins in any of the Spanish-speaking countries of Latin America. These groups that have come to the U.S. include Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, Salvadorians, Colombians, Nicaraguans, etc. These populations have much in common with each other regardless of which specific country they came from. They share similarities in language, culture, customs, etc. Now, when I say they share similarities, it doesn't mean they're exactly alike. But what I mean is that it's very easy for a Colombian, Mexican, Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Rican, etc. to assimilate into each other's culture due to these similarities. However, when it comes to their experiences or what led them to the U.S., there are some notable differences. Due to space and time, we're going to focus on the three largest Hispanic groups in the U.S. for now and how their experiences differed. These groups include Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, and Cubans. Mexican Americans are the largest Hispanic group by far, with about 37 million people, or 60% of the total Hispanic population. They're mostly concentrated in the Southwest and California, but also have significant presence in other states such as Illinois, Florida, and New York. Their history in the United States is a complex and diverse topic that spans more than a century. It's important to note that a good chunk of what is the United States today previously belonged to Mexico. So Mexican presence in the United States officially began in 1848, after the U.S.-Mexican War ended with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The treaty gave about half of Mexico's territory to the United States, creating a new border and a new population of Mexican Americans. Having said that, Mexicans would still come to the land that was previously theirs but was now U.S. territory. The first wave of Mexican immigration occurred from the 1890s to the 1920s, driven by the demand for cheap labor in the U.S. Southwest, especially in mining and agriculture. The Mexican Revolution between 1910 and 1920 also pushed many refugees and exiles to flee northward, seeking safety and stability. The second wave of Mexican immigration took place from the 1940s to the 1960s, mainly as a result of the Bracero program, a bilateral agreement that allowed millions of temporary workers to enter the United States legally to fill labor shortages during World War II and the post-war era. Many Braceros stayed in the United States after their contracts expired or returned later with their families. The third wave of Mexican immigration began in the 1970s and continues to this present day, influenced by various factors such as economic crisis, social changes, political reforms, and U.S. immigration policies. The second largest Hispanic group, with about 6 million people, or 10% of the total Hispanic population, are Puerto Ricans. They are mostly concentrated in Florida, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, but also have significant presence in other states such as Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Texas. The history of Puerto Rican migration to the United States is a long and diverse one that involves political, economic, social, and cultural factors. Puerto Ricans have been migrating to the United States since the late 19th century, when the island was still a Spanish colony. After the Spanish-American War of 1898, Puerto Rico became a U.S. territory and Puerto Ricans became U.S. citizens in 1917. This distinction made it easier for them to come to the U.S. compared to other Hispanic populations. The first major wave of Puerto Rican migration occurred from the 1890s to the 1930s, when thousands of Puerto Ricans moved to Hawaii, California, and other states to work in sugar plantations, mines, railroads, and factories. Many also settled in New York City, where they formed a vibrant and diverse community. The second major wave of Puerto Rican migration took place from the 1940s to the 1960s, when hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans left the island due to economic hardship, political unrest, and population growth. Many were recruited by the U.S. government and private employers to work in farms, factories, and service industries across the country. Some also joined the military or pursued higher education. There was also a recent wave of immigration as a result of Puerto Rico's debt crisis in 2014 and Hurricane Maria in 2017, which led many professionals to leave the island and seek a better future in the United States. The third largest Hispanic group in the U.S. are Cubans, with about 2.5 million people, or about 5% of the total Hispanic population. They are mostly concentrated in Florida, especially in Miami-Dade County, but also have significant presence in other states such as New Jersey, Texas, and California. The history of Cuban immigration to the United States is a long and fascinating one that also involves many political, economic, social, and cultural factors. Cuban immigration to the United States has occurred in two major periods. The first one from 1890s to the 1950s, and the second one from 1959 to the present day. The first period was marked mainly by anti-Spain revolutionary activities before 1898, and the Great Depression of 1929, which saw as many as 100,000 Cubans migrate to the United States. The second period was triggered by the rise of Fidel Castro and the Cuban Revolution, which led many Cubans to leave and seek refuge in the United States. It began in 1959 and even continues until today. This era was filled with hostilities between Cuba and the U.S., which led the U.S. to create laws such as the Cuban Adjustment Act to make it easier for Cubans to immigrate. The post-Cuban Revolution immigration had three significant waves. The first wave occurred in the period between January 1959 and October of 1962, in which 248,000 Cubans left Cuba. The majority of them were mostly the elite and the well-to-do of the island. The second wave of immigration occurred between December 1965 and April of 1973, in which 260,000 Cubans left. The third wave was initiated by the Mariel boat lift in 1980, in which 125,000 Cubans left the island. Although there were similarities in some of the experiences and reasons for these Hispanic populations to leave their country and come to the U.S., there are some notable differences when it comes to patterns of settlement and integration into American society. Cuban Americans wear the role of political refugee or exile. Puerto Ricans are viewed as having it easier because they are automatically U.S. citizens, although some would argue it has worked against them in some cases. And Mexican Americans and other Hispanic Americans have had to bear the stigma of being referred to or treated as illegal aliens. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Help us to spread this video by sharing. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more videos.